my turbo completely yeeted itself. My wiring harness kind of caught on fire. This is gonna be a very tight fit. Everyone needs the ultimate daily. Everyone needs the ultimate tow rig. For me, that is my 2015 GMC Sierra with, of course, the 6.6 liter Duramax. So I bought this truck like 3 or 4 years ago. It needed a bedside when I bought it, threw a new bed on it, painted the bed. Then I decided to go all hot boy with it for some odd reason. Put these 22, I think, by 14-inch wide wheels on it with like a negative 76 millimeter offset. Did a 6 or 7 inch lift, and it's been an absolutely amazing truck. The only thing I've done since I bought it is change the oil, and today we need to go through and do a ton of maintenance on this thing because we are about to grab the enclosed trailer, which is heavy, put a car in it, which makes it even heavier, and head out to an event a couple hundred miles away. Lifting this truck on the lift always makes me so freaking nervous. It is rated for, I think, 11,000 pounds, and this truck, of course, doesn't weigh that much, but a little wobbly. Starting off, these lower ball joints are absolutely cooked. It already destroyed one set of tires on this truck. Just put new tires on it, and I do not want to destroy those as well, of course. As the same with every other project I work on, I went way too far pulling off the entire front suspension instead of just the lower ball joints. In this case, that ended up being a very good thing because there was more problems I was not aware of. Well, I guess that's one way to do it. I wanted to get the lower control arm off so I could get it all cleaned up and slap down some paint, but the torsion bar is stuck in the lower control arm, so no go there. Everything else is gonna be fully lubed and re-greased, and we need to go pick up a ball joint press to get that floppy guy out. These lower ball joints were very seized in the control arm, so we had to finagle the entire lower control arm and the torsion bar up on our shop press. And after heating it for a couple minutes, the ball joint finally pressed out of the control arm. While the control arm was still warm, I figured that was the best time to press in the new ball joints. All right, I finally got the lower ball joints out. You can see they are quite floppy, not safe, junk. And here's the thing, I also went ahead and pulled the upper ball joints out. As you can see, this is what happens when you neglect doing any sort of maintenance whatsoever. Even though they make it so easy and just dumb proof for people like me to grease them, clearly I wasn't greasing them regularly. So here's the unfortunate part. We were supposed to take this truck to Seattle to tow the enclosed trailer. Ball joints, being that they're aftermarket, you have to order them in. No parts stores here locally carry them. They're not gonna be here in time to use the truck to tow the trailer. So the only other option is to get the Type R to Seattle. You already know. If we're going to this show, we have to drive that car and that car. My truck ain't gonna be ready.
I ain't driving it. I'll drive the FRS. Way less responsibility.
It's like 800 miles. I didn't got 800 miles.
That's like $800,000. Is what that is.
That's sketchy. All right, so we got 2 cars coming with us to Seattle. Very, very exciting. Of course, I'm a little bit nervous about the Type R. We have a total of 526.3 miles on the entire build right now, and we are about to put another 598 miles on it in one day. A little bit crazy. And then my very, very beautiful FRS that I built a few years back is coming with us as well. I am actually giving this car away to one of you guys, and you can win it for as cheap as $5. If you head to dvniemela.com, all of the info will be there. But to make a long story short, if you buy a digital image, which is $5 on the website, that is one entry to win this car. You can buy as many as you'd like, or you can just buy one. Of course, the more you buy, the higher your chances. Shipping is gonna be on me. I'll ship it to you anywhere here in the domestic United States. But if you're cool and you're in Spokane, I'll drive this thing right to your front door and we can go for a nice little rip together. By the time this video goes live, it's most likely almost sold out. So if you want a chance to win this thing, first link down below, go check it out. Are you excited to drive a Type R all the way to Seattle?
What? Such a lie.
What do you mean, Willis? Look at Trey packing her up.
Yeah, because it's going in the trailer.
Bobby, come look at my truck.
Ooh, we're all supposed to fit.
Look at my truck. You think that thing's going anywhere? She ain't got no front end on her. What do you think, Willis? Will it make it?
I don't think it is.
You don't think it's gonna make it?
I don't.
You don't trust the build.
Oh, I trust the build.
You don't trust the builder?
I trust the builder.
You don't trust Hondas?
No.
It's a bet. $100. $100 it'll make it.
I'll bet you like 10 cents.
with both cars fully loaded down, it was time to embark on this couple 100-mile drive. Well, boys, I owe Bobby $100. She was right, I was wrong.
Another day in Devin's world. It wouldn't be fun if it went right all the time.
That is true. Where the Type R broke down was a very, very sketchy blind corner on the interstate. Thankfully, we were able to push the car to a little bit safer of a place while we waited for a tow. Couple things happened, but the main thing that is going on right now is my wiring harness kind of caught on fire. So it happened here, Bobby. Hold my camera as you hide up in the woods. Did you know I owe you $100?
Yeah, freaking hand it over.
So about 100 miles back, I started hearing this noise, like a rattling noise, and I thought something was rubbing on my wheel. I got out of the car, my turbo completely yeeted itself, so the noise was the compressor wheel rubbing on the housing. And then we drove for another like 30 miles, and I got out of the car and I started looking around, and I thought maybe my oil feed line is pinched. So as I was messing with that line, I must have stupidly and accidentally had the line resting on the cam sensor wiring, which in turn, another 10 miles down the road, we were cruising, whole cabin lit up with smoke, car shut off, and no power's going to DCU. So pretty much all of there's a ton of wires in the whole entire engine harness that are melted together, all because of that one stupid thing. Stupid mistake, but unfortunately we're 4 hours away from home in my shitty tech that, yeah, I need to get better at building cars apparently. The dumb thing is, if this is like a stock car, it would be fine because as soon as those wires like touch together, they pop a fuse. This car doesn't really have anything like that set up. Yeah, very, very stupid mistake.
Apparently we weren't meant to go to the car show.
Apparently we were not meant to go to the car show. There's a nice lake over there with a cliff. Push the car off the cliff into the lake, be done with it. This makes me mad. I was so confident. We went 3 hours with no issue. Shit. Me being so confident in the build, of course I did not bring a single tool or part with me, so there's nothing we could do other than wait for a freaking tow.
I just want to let y'all know that I was right. Devin didn't emphasize that enough. That's all.
A couple hours later, we were finally able to tow the car off of the sketchy interstate into a nice big open parking lot. My man Remy showed up around 11 p.m. with the enclosed trailer. We got the car loaded up and headed back to Spokane. Remy, you're a beautiful driver. Thanks for driving my broken trailer. This is why you don't build shitty cars. Build good cars, unlike Devin. This car. Well, we are back home in the shop with the Type R. It's the next day, and man, oh man, that was a wild ride yesterday. Honestly, looking back, pretty dumb to try and attempt that drive on a car that hasn't really been tested yet. Like I said yesterday, only a couple 100 miles on the entire build. These problems would have happened eventually. I would have much rather had these problems happen here close to the shop instead of a couple hours away. Let's run through and break down exactly what happened. It was kind of like a one problem led to another type of scenario. I would say about 2 hours into the drive, I started hearing some noise. Up until then, this car was absolutely perfect. We did not have a single issue with the car. All of the vitals looked fine. Coolant temp, oil pressure, every single thing on the Hall Tech looked fine. And then I started hearing this noise, and the noise turned out to be our turbo. As you can see, our 6466 is completely smoked. So what I did was I got back in the car. Once again, we were on the side of the highway, or I guess it'd be the interstate. Side of the interstate, there wasn't a ton of options. Is either keep going to Seattle, which was closer than Spokane, or turn around and go back to Spokane. Either way, it was kind of sketchy on a turbo that was about to disintegrate. So we got in the car, started heading toward the event. About 10 miles later, I had the bright idea. I'm like, okay, the most common way for this thing to lose a turbo is if something with the oil feed line is going on. So then I pulled back over on the side of the road and I started messing with the oil feed line right here. This is going to the turbo off the back of the head, runs underneath the exhaust manifold up by the downpipe. And I noticed it looks a little bit pinched. It's gonna be impossible for you guys to see. A little bit pinched down there. This line used to be more back here. Unfortunately, when I was messing around with it on the side of the highway, it came from its original position back here, away from all the wiring, and it came up there where it's currently sitting. Now, as you can see, that is very close to our cam sensor, which is right there. And it ended up, I'm not sure where the wiring connector for our cam sensor went, but it melted the sensor, which in turn allowed some of these wires to touch each other. This car being standalone, it doesn't run anything through the factory fuse box. So none of these wires or sensors on this thing are fused, which of course isn't ideal for a daily driver. When those wires touched, we were on the pass from Spokane to Seattle. It's called Snoqualmie Pass, if you're familiar with it. Crazy busy, semis flying by like 80 miles an hour. And the whole entire cabin filled up with smoke all of a sudden because it burned some wires on the inside as well, next to the Haltech ECU. Of course, it immediately shut off the car. There's nothing I could do, no power to the Haltech. The car was just shitting out flames and popping like crazy. I knew something serious was going on, obviously, because the interior was also full of smoke. So very sketchily, yanked it to the side of the freeway, and I'm like, shit, we're on fire. I literally thought the car was burning down to the ground on the side of the interstate. Thankfully, we got out, I popped the hood, everything was fine. After checking it out for about 10 more seconds, I realized it was an electrical issue, a small electrical fire. I don't know if you've ever tried to diagnose an electrical fire and an electrical issue on the side of the interstate before, 2 feet from semis going past 80 miles an hour, but you can't think very clearly. We were on the side of that interstate for like an hour and a half. My dad ended up being in Seattle at the time, so he came all the way to Snoqualmie Pass, towed us off to a dirt parking lot, and I went to the bar and drank some whiskey. My buddy Remy came out with his truck in the trailer. Shout out to you, Remy. Appreciate you, brother. And we towed the car back home. That still leaves me with the question of why the Haltech no longer turns on. I'm not sure if it fried the Haltech ECU. I do need to send it into Haltech to see what's going on there, because of course the engine wiring harness is completely separate from the Haltech. With the engine harness not plugged in, the Haltech will still turn on, or at least it should. In this scenario, we are getting no power, no signal whatsoever to the Haltech. Even though we have power to the ECU, it's not turning on. So something inside the Haltech did fry when this whole scenario went down, which sucks. Best case scenario, the wiring right to here for the cam sensor should be good. So I did buy a pigtail. We should be able to wire in a new cam sensor pigtail. And then on the interior, it did fry a couple wires on the engine harness. As you can see right here, this wire is completely toasted. This guy right here, also completely toasted. This guy right here, completely toasted. This is everything on the engine harness, thankfully. Everything with the Haltech side of things does look fine. I know it's kind of a mess right now because I've been tearing into it, trying to figure out what all is damaged. But everything with this should be fine. A lot of stuff with the engine harness though does need to be repaired, or maybe even just replace the whole harness and start from scratch. It was still definitely a very, very fun trip. I wish we could have made it to the event, but obviously when you break down, you can't really do anything about it. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been way, way worse. This is definitely best case scenario. And now I know that do not let your wiring touch very hot parts. Otherwise, you're gonna have massive issues. Say goodbye to our very beautiful Precision Turbo.